Do you remember this movie, Intersection? Probably not. The plot is about a love triangle in which Richard Gere has to choose between his wife and his mistress. Then one day, he gets into a car crash at an intersection, and he's forced to examine his life. You're probably wondering why I bring this up now. Well, driving a school bus through an intersection is a bit like a love triangle. There's you and the school bus, the intersection itself, and the other vehicles. And just like a love triangle, a lot can go wrong. In this course, you'll learn how to safely approach and navigate your way through all types of intersections. You'll learn the common hazards that are present at intersections, and you'll learn how to prevent intersection collisions. It's all part of Laidlaw's unwavering commitment to safety. So sit back, relax, and learn more from this course. I promise, it's better than this movie. Today we're going to talk about intersections and the dangers that can occur at the intersections you encounter every day on your routes. To begin our discussion of intersections, let's talk about the different types of intersections you'll encounter. There are two types of intersections, regulated and unregulated. We'll discuss regulated intersections first. A regulated intersection is one where the right-of-way is determined by traffic signals or traffic signs. Four-way, two-way, and one-way stops have specific laws regarding who gets to go first. However, other drivers may or may not follow the rules. If two drivers arrive at the same time at a four-way stop, the driver on the left must yield the right-of-way to the driver on their right. If two drivers arrive at a two-way stop in opposing directions, the driver turning left must yield to approaching traffic going straight or turning right. But what happens if the other driver doesn't follow the rules? Simple. Allow for their mistakes. As a professional driver, you are expected to be better at defensive driving, and that includes being ready for the other driver to break the rules. Unregulated intersections do not use signals or signs to indicate who has the right of way. Unregulated intersections are rare, but extremely dangerous. Often, they're in congested areas, such as parking lots or near schoolyards. Even though traffic is usually moving very slowly, unregulated intersections can be very dangerous. The law states that when two vehicles arrive at an unregulated intersection, the vehicle on the left must yield to the vehicle on the right. However, as a professional driver, you can't take it for granted that another driver will yield the right-of-way to you, even when it's legally yours. Never, ever, ever assume that the other driver will slow down or stop. Cover your brake and be prepared to stop. When the intersection is clear, look left, look right, look left again, and then proceed. Remember, as a professional driver, it's your responsibility to constantly practice defensive driving techniques. Stop now and discuss the various types of intersections found on your routes. Do you remember the definition for accidents? Earlier, you learned that accidents are unplanned events that disrupt activity, involve or affect people, and are caused. Remember that definition, and remember that when accidents occur at intersections, they can be severe. Think about it. The mere size difference between a school bus and most other vehicles on the road almost guarantees that any accident involving the two will be serious. That's why it's so important for you to understand the types of accidents that can happen at intersections. That way, you can prevent them from happening in the first place. Here's some typical accidents that could occur. You could be T-boned by a vehicle coming from the intersecting street. You could be involved in an accident as you make a right turn at an intersection when a car driver tries to squeeze in between you and the curb. You could be involved in an accident as you turn left at an intersection, or you could be hit by a vehicle that is turning left into your line of travel as you drive straight through an intersection. Truth is, the potential for accidents at intersections goes on and on. Now let's hear from an expert to learn about some specific accidents.
I've seen this happen so many times, I couldn't even tell you how many. The school bus driver had the right-of-way, but as the school bus started to turn left, the car from this street over here turned right on red and the school bus collided into the car. Stop now and discuss how this accident could have been prevented. Cars don't always yield for school buses like they should. They often try to dart ahead of them at an intersection. Let's face it, people don't like to get stuck behind a bus. That's what happened here. The car ignored the stop sign, tried to squeeze ahead of the school bus, and slammed into the side of the bus. Stop now and discuss how this accident could have been prevented. The school bus driver made a complete stop at this intersection. He looked left, right, and left again, and then proceeded through the intersection, which he thought was clear. When he was about halfway through the intersection, this car came speeding through at 50 miles per hour and hit the rear end of the bus. Stop now and discuss how this accident could have been prevented.
Now, at first, you might think that all of the accidents the officer described were caused by the other drivers. Well, think again. Remember, you're the professional driver. Everyone else on the road is an amateur. That means you have to watch out for them and compensate for their unsafe driving behaviors. Now, let's examine some of the driving techniques you can use to prevent intersection accidents. We've said it time and time again, be aware of what's happening around your bus. Keep your eyes moving all the time. And at intersections, pay attention to the traffic in your lane, the lanes next to you, oncoming traffic, and the traffic on the cross streets. You should always be aware of activity a full 15 seconds ahead of you. But what should you be looking for? Stop now and brainstorm about what you think you should look for as you approach an intersection. As you approach an intersection, watch for sudden starts and stops from other vehicles, sudden lane changes from other vehicles, sudden passing from other vehicles, tailgating by other vehicles, vehicles that are turning either from the road on which you are traveling or from the intersecting streets, fixed objects, and pedestrians. You should look for these things at all types of intersections, but at intersections regulated by traffic lights, you also have to watch for whether a green light is fresh or stale. A fresh green light is a light that has just turned green, meaning you were either stopped at or approaching a red light when you actually saw the light turn green. At a fresh green light, you know you have enough time to proceed through the intersection safely, but you have to look left, right, and left again in case someone is trying to run the red light on the cross street. Remember, as a professional, you have to allow for the mistakes of the other drivers. A stale green light is a light that has been green for a while, meaning it's green when you approach it, and it could possibly change before you can get safely through the intersection. When approaching a stale green light, slow down and cover your brake. That way, you have enough time to stop if the light suddenly turns red. Covering your brake doesn't mean you apply pressure. You just have your foot in position in case you have to suddenly stop. Never, under any circumstances, enter an intersection on a yellow light. Yellow means stop for the professional driver. Now let's discuss the basics of safely getting through an intersection. Remember to be aware of activity 15 seconds ahead of your bus. That's usually 2 to 3 city blocks. Look for other vehicles, pedestrians, and fixed objects. Check the traffic light, if there is one, or pay attention to any stop or yield signs or flashing red or yellow lights. Be aware of traffic approaching from any intersecting streets, even if you have the green light. Often, cars will run the red light or fail to heed any caution and enter the intersection even though you have the right of way. Continually look to the left and right. Rock and roll your body to see around blind spots. Identify obstructions to your view and slow down if you can't see the big picture. Reduce your speed, cover your brake, and be prepared to stop. And yield to other vehicles and pedestrians. Communicate with other drivers and pedestrians by making eye contact or lightly tapping the horn. Believe it or not, even though you're driving a big yellow school bus, other people may not see you. Finally, stay in your lane. Never change lanes or pass while approaching or proceeding through an intersection. Remember, your school bus moves more slowly than cars do, so you must be sure you can clear the intersection completely. Make sure the intersection is clear and will stay clear as you pass through. But don't forget to cover your brake just in case. Stop now to discuss the steps for proceeding safely through an intersection. As we said earlier, accidents are caused, and they're caused by unsafe behavior. That's the 329-1 safety theory in action. Now, you may do the unsafe behavior 100 times and nothing bad happens, but eventually you will have an accident. That's why, if you can eliminate the unsafe behaviors, you'll prevent accidents from happening. Stop now and discuss the unsafe behaviors that could lead to intersection accidents. There are a whole host of behaviors that can contribute to accidents at intersections. They are not looking 15 seconds ahead, not checking to see if a green light is stale, starting too quickly when the light turns green, not yielding the right of way, changing lanes while entering an intersection, not covering your brake, driving through a yellow light, not communicating with other vehicles or pedestrians, not continually looking to the right and left, and going too fast. Again, eliminate these behaviors and you'll eliminate your risk for having an intersection accident. Intersections are tricky business, and you have to be careful as you navigate your way through them. Expect the unexpected by being aware of what's happening around your school bus.